Hello, everybody. So it's only a couple of days until the League One season starts. So I wanted to take a look and do my predictions for 1 to 24 for this season. Now, it's something that I think is really, really interesting to do, to take a look at every team, even just so you learn a bit about every team, you learn who the manager is, because you don't necessarily know the most. And this has provided me with a great opportunity to learn a lot about other clubs, see what clubs I think have improved since last season, see what clubs I think have gotten worse since last season. So it has been very, very interesting. So just at front, I am a Wycombe Wanderers fan, but I have tried as much as possible to ensure my own biases do not get in the way. So as you may see later, I have actually ranked my own club fairly low, actually dissimilar to where other people in my club would rank us. But that's my opinion. So we will start. Number one is Bolton Wanderers. I do predict Bolton Wanderers will win League One. So after clawing their way back from League Two in 2021, Bolton have slowly built momentum as one of the last genuinely too big for League One clubs. They won the Pappas John Trophy last season, beating eventual League One winners Plymouth, and they maintained a playoff spot. They lost to Barnsley in the semi-finals. Now, momentum from last season has been joined by a good performance in the transfer market. Nathan Baxter's came in to replace lonely James Trafford, which is a good pickup. Liverpool lonely Conor Bradley will be replaced by Tranmere Rovers Dagres Cogley, who deserved the chance for a step up. Bolton are now in a position of having a level of depth that I think is enviable to the majority of teams in the league, something that is necessary to maintain a genuine title challenge. As we saw last season, Ipswich and Plymouth, they had that depth and they were the two that were able to genuinely challenge for the title. With Ian Evatt at the wheel, Bolton have a quality manager, they have quality players, and they have the depth to just, I think, win it. I don't see them being anywhere out of the race at all. At worst, I see them occupying third. In second, I have Portsmouth. So they've been languishing in League One since the 2017-18 season and haven't challenged for promotion since the COVID season of 1920. But despite this, there's actually a lot of reason to be really optimistic for Pompey fans. Jose Mourinho, who first looked like a panic appointment, let's be real, he had no experience. He was working as a player coach, working on set pieces, but he's looked to be an inspirational pick for his first managerial role. He ended the 2022-23 season on an 11-game unbeaten streak with 39 points from 23 games. Combined with the fact that new director of football, Richard Hughes, who was appointed in September 22, is starting to pay dividends with some excellent signings between now and then. Reagan Poole, Jack Sparks, Ryan Schofield, Will Norris and Conor Shaughnessy come in to strengthen the defence. Anthony Scully and Gavin White come in to aid creativity, which is something they really needed. I saw that in the last day of the season. And up front, they have young lads like Asinde Youngie and Abu Kamara and Christian Sadie complement main striker Colby Bishop. So not only do they have some amazing players, they have the depth to go with it. With a new element of organisation behind the scenes and a manager looking to incorporate young, exciting players in a really interesting style, I think they've got a really, really good chance this season. It is an overall weaker league, I would say, at the top. And I think this is an excellent opportunity for Portsmouth to really take advantage of that. This could be one of their best chances, and maybe will be one of their best chances to strike back and get into the Championship. I think they can get that automatic promotion spot. Third will be Derby County. Look, with Derby facing nearly complete destruction, the possibility of it upon their relegation to League One, Paul Warne and Derby fans can feel that, while missing out on playoffs on the final day is annoying, it's a great place to build from, and it's a better place than majority than probably thought they would be in. Paul Warne is one of the most experienced and most capable managers at the level. He's won promotion from the division 3 times, and unlike last season, where they had a lot of excellent players, that wasn't really a balanced squad. They've had the chance to make a brilliant balanced squad with some excellent players. They have lost the talismanic McGoldrick and Jason Knight, Loanies have not returned to the club, but I think they've made signings in the key areas. Callum Eldar came in at left back and Kane Wilson coming in at right back. They're both a fantastic attacking wing backs. There's goalkeeper Josh Vickers came in. Versatile Joe Ward and attacker Colin Washington add some brilliant depth to the squad. And it's really good to know that nearly all of these players have played in the Championship or have been promoted to it, which is that sort of experience, that sort of ability, the knowledge of how to do it is really important to have. The only reason I didn't put them in second or first is I have some minor questions about them. They have a really good, strong backline that they have strengthened, but did they do well enough to replace David McGoldrick? I'm not entirely convinced. I think they've done well enough to achieve the playoff spots without much of a hassle, but I don't think they've got the strike force necessary to really maintain that automatic promotion push. Number 4, Blackpool. I've just put this quote in from Marvel. You could not live with your failure. Where did it lead you? Back to me. So, upon relegation back to League One after a second season in the Championship, the Seasiders went crawling back to Neil Critchley, fresh off whatever he was doing, going on an adventure to Aston Villa on the Stevenage Road, and then the dumpster fire turned football club Queen's Park Rangers. Going back to the man who won the promotion to the Championship is uninspiring, but it's understandable. Messing with a formula that works is not really something that's ideal. Neil Critchley works, and so be it. He's shown a great ability in the transfer market, and while Ryan Yates returned to the Championship with Swansea, Kyle Joseph came the other way to add a young attack to the rotation with experience in the league. Meanwhile, they've also got some great players in Matthew Pennington, Albie Morgan, Oliver Norburn joining Kyle Joseph's players with experience in League One. I think the main issue Blackpool have to traverse is contention. It's the issue of Neil Critchley. He left in fairly acrimonious circumstances, and not everybody will be pleased to see him back. Now, this can be dealt with by a good start to the season. If they keep winning games at the start of the season, if they have a really good performance, I can see people taking Critchley back very quickly. If they can't, though, if they start struggling, this second marriage of convenience will possibly come to a grinding halt, and Blackpool can't afford that. But I rate their transfers. I do think Neil Critchley's a great manager. I don't see them struggling too much. I think 4th place, I think that's fair. I don't see them challenging for automatics. But I think they definitely have the quality to go up through promotions, I'd say. Number 5, Charlton Athletic. Once a fairly stable Premier League club, they've probably been the worst club in terms of ownership. They've had some horrible owners. They've now got SE7 partners, and while not much is known about them, they have bankrolled an ambitious transfer window under Dean Holding. It's actually notable, I did check. The majority of Charlton's outgoings have been players who struggled, and they mostly went to League 2 or even the Vanarama. But the majority of players coming in are Championship or League 1 players who did very well. And key to that is one of the best attackers in League 1 in Alfie May. He was one of the hottest items of the year, and they went out and they spent for him, which is really impressive. Lloyd Jones was outstanding at Cambridge as a centre-back. Teo Adon is capable of operating as a modern wing-back on the left. Panush Kamara and Terry Taylor offer 2 viable candidates to partner George Dobson in the centre midfield. And Harry Isted takes the reins and goals. He had a very successful season at Barnsley, opted not to return, and has now came to Charlton. The only variable that's a little bit unproven is Dean Holding. He didn't have the most amazing time at Charlton since he took over, but I think he's done well enough. And they've added a lot of very competitive players to the squad, and I would be surprised not to see them challenge for the playoff spots. Now, time for my first proper upset. The last playoff promotion spot, I am going to say Burton. They were sinking under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank at the end of his tenure, but Dino Maria has injected new life into the club. And with a fairly increased war chest and some excellent acquisitions, I think they could prove to be a really superb dark horse. In a league that has a lot of playoff places and top League One places open for taking. They were excellent at eking out those little draws or 1-0 wins. And they've added some exceptional players to help this. Ryan Sweeney, Jamal Blackburn, Jack Caprice, Jasper Moon, Steve Seddon all add amazing quality to the back line. Mason Bennett, Josh Gordon, Raheem Carper all help the midfield attack, but Cole Stockton has joined as one of their attackers, which, going from Ghassan Adamam to Cole Stockton, is a fantastic upgrade. So not only have they increased their ability to eke out those little 1-0 draws, but they've added players, especially Cole Stockton, who's very good on the counter. I could see them picking up those dodgy 1-0 wins, picking up those dodgy 0-0 draws against big teams, and working their way into the playoffs like Wycombe and Ainsworth used to do. Frustrating, annoying, horrible to play against, but a brilliant side doing a fantastic job at exactly what they want to do. So I could see them fighting for promotion. I think they had exceptional form at the end of last season. They made some excellent acquisitions. And yeah, I think we could see them in sixth, seventh place. Now, seventh place, I have chose Barnsley. So this was very, very simple. If Michael Duff had remained. But he didn't. If he had stayed, it would have been hard to see them anywhere outside of the top two spots. But with the inevitable poaching of Michael Duff by Swansea, a new manager had to come in. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think transfers really are going to play a major part, or I don't think they did play a major part in where Barnsley are going to finish. Michael Duff gave them a fantastic base to work with. They lost very few players, and the ones they did lose, they replaced fairly well. But it was all going to come down to who they announced as manager. And it was Neil Collins, former EFL journeyman, who was managing US-based Tampa Bay Rowdies. He was named USL Championship Coach of the Year, and he made, I believe, 3 conference final games, which is quite impressive. But crucially, he's not got experience in the EFL. And as time has shown, time and time over again, I believe the EFL is unlike any other managerial environment in the world. I believe you can be successful at other leagues and do horribly in League One. But I also believe you could be successful at League One and do horribly elsewhere. I don't believe there's conditions like anywhere else. Now, Neil Collins could provide an inspired choice by Barnsley. At the moment, I'm not too convinced about him. I don't think he'd be terrible by any sense, but I don't think he's going to come in and hit the ground running. I think it's more likely that he has a solid, if unspectacular, season this year, works with a good base, and gets promotion next year. I think which is fair for a new manager who's not managing the country. Will they give him that time? Will the fans give him that time? That's a bit harder to figure out now. I'm seeing, do I have my water bottle? I do have my water bottle, sorry. Now, number 8 is my own club, Wycombe Wanderers, and actually a lot of Wycombe Wanderers fans would be a little annoyed that I've not suggested us for promotion. Look, I don't think we'll get playoffs this year. The majority of the club's spine do remain, and even in the case of Lewis Wing, he's been replaced by Luke Lee, who, in my opinion, is an upgrade. It's strange as well because he's one of our first genuine transfers in years. We paid £100,000 for him. Such suggests that that's the support new manager Matt Bloomfield has got, which he has put to excellent use. Harry Boyes and Kane Vincent-Young offer a great attacking wing-back options. Freddie Potts and Keane Breckens are excellent on the ball and excellent on the pass. And Dale Taylor gives a striker who can play the majority of games and also score, which is different than what Wycombe currently have. Sam Vokes can score but struggles with injuries. Brandon Hanlon can play the majority of games, but he's had an unconvincing goal-scoring record at the club. Despite astute signings and the retaining of key players like Max Druitt, Chris Frino-Joseph, Josh Gowan, Ryan Tafazoli, this is Matt Bloomfield's first year as a manager, first full year. He went to Colchester, I believe, last November. He came to Wycombe in February. This will be his first full year as a manager. And it'll be a very difficult time taking a team that is steeped in Ainsworth long ball direct 4-4-2s and 4-2-3-1s into a passing controlling possession style with a 3-5-2 with wing backs. This season will depend on his ability to translate this new style into the squad. I've been to friendly games, I've been to the game at Cardiff, I was impressed. But on the balance of probability, I see for us falling just short of the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised come the end of the season if we're in contention. I also wouldn't be surprised come the end of the season we're down in 11th, 12th, 13th. I think it really does depend on how well the players get it and how well that gets across. But I think we're going to have a solid, if unspectacular season. And number 9 is Lincoln. Well, the top end of League One tends to be traditionally large teams that are down in their luck. Lincoln show the opposite. Since being promoted to League One in 2019, they've established themselves as a pretty good League One club, and they now look to be in a position to transition this into one to being capable of challenging at a higher standard. I think Mark Kennedy surprised a lot of us with his first season in charge. Only 3 teams lost fewer games than the Imps, and they all got promoted. They turned the LNER Stadium into a fortress capable of even stonewalling the best clubs. While 2 of their best defenders have left, Lucas Jensen and Jaden Brown have the chance to step up, while they add to an attacking presence with Tyler Walker, linking up with the already excellent Danny Manjoy and Ben House. A large amount of the transfers have been young lads with a chance to come in, but overall the cause held in place. And I think with the overall weakening of the league at the top, teams like Peterborough, teams like Wycombe, teams like Oxford having transition seasons almost, I think there's a real chance they could come into the top 10 and try and cement that place as a higher end League One club. As for Oxford, I've put them in number 10. It's been a wild ride for Oxford fans. They got beaten by us in the playoff finals during COVID. They returned to the playoffs again next season, losing in the semi-finals against Blackpool. They finished 8th the season after. And the following season, last season, they survived relegation by just 2 points, as the club nearly sleptwalked into League Two under Carl Robinson. It would have been very similar to, I believe, Leicester, where they just saw a brilliant team sleptwalk almost into the league below. I think optimism has returned with the arrival of Liam Manning and some excellent pickups, such as non-league standout Ruben Rodriguez, who took part in their absolute thrashing of QPR, and he looks very comfortable in the team. They've got experienced League One players like Jordan Fornelli, Josh McAkeren, who worked with Liam Manning at MK Dons, and Mark Harris, with exciting prospects coming in as well with Finn Stevens and Stanley Mills. I think Oxford have the ability to defy expectations after a poor season, with Manning and being a pretty good manager, but I think question marks remain over Manning, who followed a promotion playoff season, losing only to Wycombe in the semi-finals, with relegation to League Two with MK Dons. Now, I believe there's structural issues going on, but that is a major drop, and you can't blame it all on the structure. But I find that the most likely thing is they'll have a solid, unspectacular season, which they'll be able to build on in the future. No relegation issues. They'll be able to 10th, 11th, 9th. Maybe even a promotion push if things happen the way some things do. 11, Peterborough, another higher end League One club that's had pretty good success. I think that's on the transition. There seems to be questions raised about the club as they seem to work nearly on autopilot and potentially grapple with financial problems. As such, many experienced players have headed out the door with a conscious effort to bring in young players, which I completely understand, but they're not going to have the quality immediately. Peterborough mainstays like Clark House and Josh Knight remain up for sale, while skipper Ollie Norburn and Frankie Kent have moved on in line with club policy to transfer list any players with a year left on contract. They've made some solid signings in return, mostly young lads. Archie Collins is a sound pickup, but with a younger squad, less experience, and few like-for-like replacements for players leaving, I believe there's only so much Darren Ferguson will be able to do. I don't see them in any particular struggle, but I don't see them challenging for promotion, which, if you're going to do a transition season, that's pretty much what you want. Number 12, Reading. Look, nothing's going right for Reading at the moment. there was a moment of potential when they were able to get Lewis Wing, Sam Smith in the door. Two very good signings. But that's been replaced by more doom as more late wage payments have arrived and HMRC have once again relegated Reading to a transfer embargo. Ruben Sal's pleas for more players look increasingly hard to make happen. Worse than anything else happening in the pitch, only Young Dai seems uncaring if the club are unable to pay wages or face charges. I believe Reading will survive in League One in one way or another. I think they have a solid squad, a competent, good manager, and a very strong motivation to play. But I don't think that matters if a terrible owner remains at the club. Every day without selling, I think that increases the chance of the club collapsing. So I would consider Reading's season a success if they just stayed in League One and got rid of Young Dai. I'd rather they stayed in League One and got rid of Young Dai than had a luxurious, majestical promotion push and they kept Young Dai. I think for them to start developing as a club, they get rid of him. So I think that's actually their success. It's not really dependent on where they finish. Obviously, if they're relegated, it'd be very annoying. I don't think they will. But I think as long as they stay in League One and get rid of Young Dai, I think that's a success for Reading. Stevenage. Lord Mahaton, Steve Evans is very good at his job. After guiding Stevenage to an unlikely promotion, he's flexed his transferability to bring in a host of actually excellent players for the club. Nick Freeman came from Wycombe. He's been fantastic for us in the Championship in League One. Ben and Lewis Thompson from Peterborough and Portsmouth. And they sorted out their goalkeeping issues with the acquisition of Tay Ashby Hammond. Having added both youthful energy and genuinely good experienced players to what was a pretty strong squad anyway, Stephen Evans has set up Stevenage for a solid season as they look to avoid relegation, but I think they have the ability and the manager to not be involved in any relegation fight. Some people have placed them a bit higher, saying they might do an unexpected promotion push. I don't think so, but I think they definitely can push for that in the next season or two after this. 14. Port Vale. Off the back of an uncomfortably close scrap of relegation, Andy Crosby and the Port Vale team have came out swinging. They've signed enough defenders to build a whole new back line. Goalkeeper Connor Ripley came in from Morecambe. He had an excellent season from Morecambe. Centre-back Kofi Barmer joins on loan from Crystal Palace, and Mitchell Clark, Tom Sang and Alex Eva E. Koviti join on permanent deals. Attacking midfielder Ethan Chislett is also a very shrewd signing, but overall, while their attack hasn't been strengthened too much, their defensive transfers should allow them to remain far more solid. And as I said, while attacking players remain an issue, they should be able to eke out enough wins with very good defending that I don't see them struggling too much. 15. Bristol Rovers. Look, they're managed by Joey Barton, and he is a good manager. Fair enough. He's quite good at getting the most out of teams. But he signed Giovanni Brown, who's best known for pleading guilty to assaulting women. They have a good squad, they made good moves, but the mixture of Joey Barton and Giovanni Brown just make me want to vomit. So I'm going to say they're not going to finish above mid-table, they won't struggle with relegation, but I hope Joey Barton and Giovanni Brown just leave football. I really have no time for either of them. I would care far much more for Bristol Rovers if they didn't have those two players, that manager and player. Nothing against them, but I have a lot against Joey Barton and a lot against Giovanni Brown, so I'm not going to really talk more about them. So Leyton Orient, they won League One last season, and they had a strong squad which got raided slightly. The exceptional Lawrence Figueroa got raided in goals, while Smith has rejoined Gareth Ainsworth at the aforementioned dumpster fire known as QPR. However, under Richie Wellens, smart transfers have been made. Sol Bryan joins on loan from Middlesbrough to add the necessary goalkeeper back. Idris El-Mazzoni returns on loan for a second season, while Ethan Galbraith, Joe Pickett, Max Sanders and Dan Aguirre all add quality to a squad that's already kept a lot of its good core. Not every player will be capable of making the jump from League One or League Two to League One, but I think they've got enough talent in that squad to steer them fairly well away from danger. Right, number 17, Exeter City. So they are a club on the major transition, not necessarily a good one. their buy to sell model has kind of exploded this summer with Archie Brown, Josh Key, Jamal Bachman, Jack Sparkles and Giovanni Brown, to be fair, good wins to him, all leaving this summer. And there's no guarantee that their youth players will be able to step up. It has slowed down in the past couple of seasons. They've made a couple of great loan signings, but the majority are young players, leaving a lack of experience in the squad, and it does raise some major questions over their strategy. But overall, I think 17th is fair. They do have enough quality to pull the safety, especially with San Nombe looking like he will stay. Now, if he left in between now and the transfer window deadline, I believe this will change, and Exeter will be in a proper relegation battle. But I think they are fine for this season. Long term, that's a separate matter. But I'm only looking at this season. 18, Shrewsbury. So removing Steve Cotterill was a brave move. But brave and stupidity have a very thin line, and I kind of think they've crossed it. Look, replacing the man who took him as safety is a bold move, and then replaced him with Matt Taylor, who was generally not that impressive at this time at Walsall, but has an interesting way to develop an interesting style they want to get behind. I understand it. They also lost some key players, with Captain Luke Lee jumping ship to the Chairboys and Matthew Pennington joining Peterborough. Coming in are a large amount of players with little experience in the league, but in good news, the rest of their squad have remained largely intact, allowing Taylor room to work with. It's a changing of structure for the club, and I can see them end up having to battle against relegation, but I don't think they're going to come out on the wrong side of it. Number 19, Wigan Athletic. What on earth is going on at Wigan? The 2022 season may have not existed, and now, with days to go before the season start, they've lost Jack Watmore and Jamie McGrath due to breaches of contract. They are likely not the only ones in the squad who are utterly demoralised. They're just the only two who left because of it. The signings they have made are solid, if unconvincing. There are some players with possible quality. Kel Watts, Liam Shaw, Sean Clare. There's some players, interestingly, from Bayern Munich's second team. There's players from Celtic outside the norm of what they got, or what you traditionally get in League One, so there is the potential they could succeed. They've lost a lot of players, but one place they remain pretty unchanged is up front, with Lang, Reich, McGuinness and Humphrey still in the squad. Very, very good attack, but a reliance on youth and loans in the midfield and defence could be their undoing, and combined with a likely very poor squad atmosphere, high turnover and crucially a points deduction, you can see them tumble down to League Two. I think the players they have in striker, in the attack, is just going to be enough. Just a little bit to drag them over the line and keep them, but it could easily go either way. Now, Carlisle. Paul Simpson's done not just a good job, a tremendous job at getting them up. But his next challenge is an extraordinary one, with the majority of transfers being to keep the players from their League Two season, with the exception of the very intelligent pickups of Sam Lavelle, Dylan McGouch and Alfie McCalmont. They've created and stabilised the squad, and actually they've been able to make some excellent structural and financial changes to the club, which will serve them really well in the long term. But I think Simpson will be up against it to keep them here now in the short term. He's a fantastic motivator and a very, very pragmatic manager, so you wouldn't bet against him staying up. But I don't think they have the same quality as, say, Wigan to stay up. But I would not be surprised to see them, in the end, coming out on top. 21. Fleetwood. Look, this is another club in turmoil, but this isn't just in terms of survival. Andy Pile was a fantastic servant of the club, injecting with funds, and he helped take them from non-league to the EFL. I believe he was at the club for 16 years as its chairman. So for him to be jailed for 13 years due to fraud isn't just an attack on how Fleetwood's going to run in the near future. It's a philosophical one, as a club so tied in their image to Andy Pile. Whilst business as usual can be and has been claimed, there is the threat of sanctions or financial complications due to sentencing. Transfers have been slow, and the core squad has been largely retained. But I think Pile's conviction will come as a major issue for the squad. And I think it'll create a dynamic in the team, a toxic dynamic in the team that'll be incredibly, incredibly hard to overcome. I don't see them getting out of it. If they do, it'll be a sort of all against us sort of siege mentality, which, to be fair, can work very, very well. But I don't see them doing it. Number 22, Northampton. It was an excellent job done by John Bradley to even get them into League One in the first place. It was a fantastic job, but the physio's bed may destroy that. Just 9 players were capable of starting pre-season training. They've made some smart recruitments, Manny Month, Patrick Bro, Jordan Fries. There's some interesting players on loan, especially culture centre mid Mark Leonard, who can pick a very good ball. They've also kept key players like Ali Koikoi, Sam Sharing, and crucially striker Sam Hoskins. But I think the major question, the major thing we have to wonder is, can they keep them off the physio's bench? Questions will also be raised about the squad itself, which hasn't been revamped whole scale, and I don't know if every player in it will be able to adapt to the league. Bradley has done an excellent, excellent job in a very difficult situation, and even getting Northampton to League One in the first place, but I think this is just a bridge too far. I imagine they will struggle as they get to grips with the quality of the league, but also just as injuries hit. It will happen to every team at some point, but I think Northampton in particular will get very, very hurt by it. So, number 23, Cheltenham Town. A relatively safe spot at 16 here to what was an extraordinarily hard effort to get there. Michael Duff picked up camp and left, and was replaced, but what could be considered a solid season was betrayed in all aspects by a pretty poor summer. The key issue, the sale of Alfie May. I don't think there's any other team in League One more reliant on a player with Alfie May getting 20 of their 45 goals. How do you replace that? You don't. Incomings have been solid, if unspectacular. Curtis Davis from Derby will help shore up the defence, and that has been the main area of concern, but they've failed to really replace Alfie May. Robert Street joined after an underwhelming loan at Shrewsbury Town, and Aidan Keener, the heir apparent, got 6 goals in 19 League One appearances. He has a lot of potential, and I remember watching him in Ireland, but I don't see him becoming the 20-goal a season striker that they will need. I read the talisman in Alfie May. I don't see a way through for Elliott and Cheltenham, and they will have to battle bravely against relegation. And the problem is, other strugglers from last season have gotten stronger, like Oxford and Port Vale. And the teams coming up are pretty good too. I believe Northampton's the only one that I would say is a probable relegation. The other 3 who have came up, I believe, could do a job. And finally, in 24th, you have Cambridge. Cambridge haven't just lost players, they've been absolutely gutted. After survival on the first day, jubilation and joy and ecstasy turned to disgust and horror as the majority of their core jumped ship. Smith and Nibbs went to Reading, Ironside to Doncaster, Jones to Charlton, Mitov to St Johnstone, and it's not pretty big. They lost 59% of their goals. They replaced these attackers with Solly Kai, Gasson Adme, and Saiku Chana. Kai went to MK Dons on a free transfer, scored 2 goals in 21 games as MK Dons got relegated. Adame got 4 in 19 at Burton. Jana got 1 in 10. The goals are not there with Smith and Nibbs out of squad, and they've not done the work to replace them. And the players they picked up are not good enough. They've retained some decent players, and the main thing they can rely on is the fact that young manager Mark Bonner has been able to create a fantastic team atmosphere. Players are willing to push, but there's only so much you can do with an atmosphere and with players who can push. A much, much stronger Cambridge squad finished 1 point away from relegation last season. With a stronger league overall, with better teams coming up than went down, it would take a Herculean feat for them to survive, in my opinion. So that is every club in League One, 1 to 24, I've definitely got a lot of these wrong, personally. I don't know the ins and outs of every single club, but I've tried to research as much as I can. But I'm not going to have the in-depth knowledge that I do about Wycombe than I will of other clubs. But I just want to do this. I want to be able to come back this next year and look at me and go, stupid, or, well, you got that right, or you got that wrong. Let me know what you think too. Is there somebody that I put in to be promoted that you completely disagree with? Is there somebody I've put in for a team do you think could get promoted? Let me know in the comments. But otherwise, have a great day.